Welcome to Drill Down Earnings. We have quarterly results from Palo Alto Networks, the largest security company out there, at least in terms of pure play security. Microsoft makes a case, but I'm going to go with Palo Alto Networks. These guys are focused on security. I'm focused on Palo Alto Networks. I'm Cory Johnson, Chief Market Strategist for Epistrophy Capital Research. I focus on 49 other companies that are also the most important companies in technology, or at least among them. Palo Alto Networks, certainly really important, maybe the most important company in security out there. They're trying to be the one-stop shop for all cybersecurity needs. So when they report Q1 2026 earnings, this is their fiscal first quarter, the beat or the miss doesn't tell us much. Yeah, these numbers beat estimates, whatever, $2.5 billion in revenues and 93 cents in earnings per share, adjusted earnings per share, a little bit better than Wall Street expected. But the big takeaway here is they announced an acquisition. They're acquiring a kind of new company, $3.35 billion for Chronosphere, a company that's only been around for a few years. It's an observability platform that they're it's their latest big acquisition. They just are in the process of acquiring CyberArk, announced last quarter. So again, they're trying to be the one-stop shop, have all the tools that any corporation is going to need to manage their security. And Palo Alto Networks seeing some consistent growth as a result here. If you look how the business did, numbers at 16% growth on a year-over-year basis. I mentioned nearly $2.5 billion in revenue, and a decent quarter for these guys. Operating margins also getting better at 12% in the quarter, ticking up from the bad place they were probably 2 years ago. Software firewall still half their product revenue, and decent in terms of that business as well. But the real excitement here is the XIM, their Cortex Security Operations offering. They signed an $85 million deal for this product. They've got added 470 customers in the quarter. They say their median response time is down to 10 minutes in over 60% of their deployments. So the stuff they say is working. Of course, they say it's working. Their main goal, though, is to be the platform that everyone's relying on for cybersecurity. So platformization drove a really big deal. They signed a $307 million deployment to a U.S. cabinet agency. They didn't say which one, as well as a $100 million U.S. telco deal, all anchored on their XIM product. Showing that large enterprises are still adopting this stuff in size. $100 million deal is a big deal for these guys. And the result is they got a lot of orders. So RPOs, that unaudited number of remaining performance obligations, it tries to give us a sense, if the numbers are accurate, of what kind of deals are coming in the door. Now, can customers get out of these deals? Possibly. There's a number across all of technology we want to pay attention to, at least look at these numbers, I think, with some suspicion. But if these numbers are accurate from Palo Alto Networks, RPO is growing at 23%, when revenues are only growing 16%. That's pretty impressive for Palo Alto Networks. Market didn't love these numbers. The stock's off 4%, and indeed it's up only 3%, 4% in after hours, 3% for the year. So now the stock will be down for the year, even as it's growing so much. It's interesting. I'm trying to think of ways numbers to sort of illustrate how we can look at this next-gen security, how important it is. One of the numbers they give us is their next-gen average recurring revenue. So if you think about it, it's 1 year in the future's worth of revenues and how much of that is guaranteed. What I try to do is so I'm going to show you a chart that's not real. This is next-gen security, how it reigns in their business. These numbers aren't real. But if you take a revenue run rate is not a real number. It's just it's the current quarter's revenues times 4. But if you look at the size of the revenue run rate, and how much of that is that XIM, the next-gen security average recurring revenues, you can see that it's now over half of their business going forward. So their best products, their most profitable products, are their biggest set of contracts going forward. That's a big deal. In addition to this observability acquisition of Chronosphere, one of the things they're talking about, they've been talking about for a little while, and I've been talking about for a while as well as it relates to cybersecurity. There are probably nation states and others out there that can't crack software data that's hidden and encrypted right now. But with the notion that quantum computing is coming sometime in the future, the fear is that some of those nation states or those big hackers are going to be gathering data and just storing it and waiting for the day when a quantum computer can hack it. And so these guys are already starting to think about what that looks like, how to protect against quantum hacks that aren't even possible yet. And the fear that quantum computing could break every key out there, and then they'll have to have a new kind of cybersecurity. The future of cybersecurity is in the present right now at Palo Alto Networks. Here's what Nikesh Arora had to say, the CEO of Palo Alto Networks.
Don't underestimate quantum. quantum is going to break every key, which means every piece of infrastructure, if it hasn't been upgraded, has to be upgraded. And I just learned something the other day, which Lee taught me, is, you don't even have to have a quantum computer to start breaking keys. You can actually start storing data today and break it later. So you can imagine nation states getting forward and saying, let's just ingest the data, hold on to it. Nobody's paying attention. I've got the data. We'll crack it later. So I just think all these technology trends are in the right direction. We have products positioned in each category. And I tell you what, in 3 years from now, we'll look back and say, damn, that Chronosphere acquisition was a very smart move, because you need observability. If you want your stuff to work 99.9% of the time, you need to know if something goes down ASAP.
So an interesting take there from Palo Alto Networks from Nikesh Arora, but what's it all mean? What's your big drill on earnings takeaway? And the one number that means a whole lot? I've got that. But first, subscribe to this podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube or listening on iTunes or Spotify or iHeartRadio, whatever, we really would appreciate your following us so we know that you're out there and make sure you can get every show that we record. But your drill on earnings summary of Palo Alto Q1 2026 earnings. It's a good quarter for this company, 16% growth on a year-over-year basis, $2.5 billion in revenues in the quarter. Wall Street didn't like these numbers. They were down 4%, but the drill on earnings bite, the one number, it tells you a whole lot. It's $3.35 billion. That's how much they're spending in yet another acquisition of Palo Alto Networks, acquiring a kind of new company called Chronosphere. It's only been around for a few years, doing observability to match with the other observability products at Palo Alto. They want to be the platform upon which all corporate security sits upon, and it looks like they're moving quickly in that direction. All right, thanks for checking out Drill Down Earnings. I'm Cory Johnson.